Left of the box. A little while ago, I featured, I think my last live stream, I was talking about Pierre Poilievre and how he was saying that Israel should be able to hit Iran to prevent Iran from launching nuclear weapons, more or less, to hit their nuclear facilities and oil facilities, and that they have absolutely every right to, again, basically launch a genocide against Iran before Iran can do anything to Israel. Hate speech to promote genocide, but apparently, kind of. And that was bad. And so he got called out on it, rightfully so, because, saying that that Israel should be able to hit nuclear sites in Iran is bad. So he doubled down on it. I'll let him say it so you guys can see it for yourselves. In fact, I'm not even going to show the title of this article first. You're just going to have to witness it when it happens.
Israel must be able to prevent Iran from using nuclear weapons. If necessary, that means proactively striking Iranian nuclear sites and oil installations to defund the terrorist regime.
Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons.
I think the idea of allowing a genocidal, theocratic, unstable dictatorship that is desperate to avoid being overthrown by its own people to develop nuclear weapons.
How did he not just describe Israel right there?
Is about the most dangerous and irresponsible thing that the world could ever allow. And if Israel were to stop that genocidal, theocratic, unstable government from acquiring nuclear weapons, it would be a gift by the Jewish state to humanity.
Poilievre says Israel hit on Iran nuclear sites would be a gift to humanity. Oh. And somebody, Shemagli, Iran is genocidal? As far as I know, no, they're not. Israel definitely is, and the way he was describing it definitely sounds like Israel. But just this idea of a mass slaughter in Iran would be a gift to humanity? I'm sorry, that's evil. Like, that's evil talk right there. Fascist, horrible, that's just evil is like the best word I think I have for that. Like, the idea that to any sort of wiping out any sort of people would be a gift to humanity? That the genocides Israel is committing right now is a gift to humanity? Yeah, because previously Poilievre said Israel must be able to prevent Iran from using nuclear weapons if necessary. Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons. So when I say lesser of evils, Justin Trudeau is, I wouldn't say he's specifically a Zionist, but he thinks anyone who is should be proud about that Zionism and that it shouldn't be a dirty word. Versus Pierre Poilievre, who says Israel launching attacks on nuclear sites would be a gift to humanity. Justin Trudeau, Israel has a right to defend itself. Israel wiping out all these other nations would be a gift to humanity. Neither are good. But one is way, way, way worse. It's just way worse. Pierre Poilievre, is pandering so hard to Zionists. I was looking at a couple videos recently, and he is so blatantly pandering to Zionists. And I'm about to show you a video where he's just going so full out. And yet they mock Justin Trudeau for, wearing, what was it when he was in Pakistan, more traditionally Pakistani outfit. But here he is just really trying his best to be so pro-Zionist. He is cosplaying Zionism. And it's just, wow, he's really bad. And I watched this full speech, and like I said, I put it on 1.5 speed, and it was like Ben Shapiro suddenly. It was actually kind of uncanny how that was, because they kind of look alike, actually, and they're close to the same age. So there's 2 parts of this video that we will watch on YouTube, and it's disgusting. It's really disgusting.
The Jewish people are the only people I know of who, in the same language, worship the same faith on the same land in the same country as they did 3,000 years ago. That is a true indigenous people.
So around the world, there's actually lots of cultures who've had the same language and the same beliefs and the same culture. Lots. And then there's other indigenous cultures that lost a lot of that due to colonialism. Not because they ceased to practice it, but because it was torn away from them. But there's definitely all over, Turtle Island, North America, South America, lots of tribes that have their original languages practiced still. And despite how much the Canadian government tried to erase Indigenous languages here, they still exist. But then you can also look at, other nations, China, Japan, they have cultures and language that go back more than 3,000 years. And things ebb and flow and change over time, of course. And a lot of those Jewish indigenous people in Israel are European. They're descendants of Europeans and can probably trace their roots back to Europe, not the Middle East. So that was wrong on every single level. That was wrong. Because yeah, and just look at some of why maybe some of the indigenous cultures around the world don't exist anymore. It's because of what colonialism has done to them. But also, like, here he is wearing, is it a kippah? I don't know. This is also an Israeli dog tag. That's like Israel flag blue tie, with the Canadian flag and the Israeli flag and the nice backdrop there. He's talking to AIJAC. I know the acronym, sort of. I remember it. They're the Zionist Jewish group. And this was only one of the 2 talks I came across. But just so people are sure, I'm going to rewind. This was just the opening 20 seconds of this video.
The Jewish people are the only people I know of who, in the same language, worship the same faith on the same land in the same country as they did 3,000 years ago. That is a true indigenous people.
And he's the arbiter of who a true Indigenous person is.
Which gives inspiration when you think about all the hardship that it took to stay true to what they had accepted and affirmed at Purim, to the law that Moses had brought down from the mountaintop as he led his people through the desert, out of bondage, and to the promised land, a land to which he would not arrive himself, but which he would bequeath to a generation of Jews who would carry on that tradition. Now, I made the mistake the next day of going to the local park and scribbling in my notepad a journal of everything I had experienced, not while I was wearing a kippah, and everyone was looking at me thinking,
okay, a kippah, I guess, maybe, but he might be pronouncing it wrong. I'm sorry, he is horrible at just talking to people. There's nothing engaging about this. He's not charismatic. He is just such a dweeb.
gee, this guy must have missed the rule. You're not supposed to pick up a pencil on Shabbat. But I was a slow learner. Nevertheless, the people were very kind to me.
Was a slow learner? I think that still applies.
My time traveling around Israel was a beautiful adventure. I was welcomed by the Jewish people. There was hitchhiking then. Did you know that? They still have, I don't think they do that now. But I was hitchhiking around the
Talking about it like it's this foreign concept. There's hitchhiking. What? What is this hitchhiking you speak of?
Holy Land, and young Jewish people would pick me up on the highway and drive me along to my next destination. And I was in many places where goys never go. I was in Beersheba. I was in En Gedi. I stayed in a little kibbutz right next to the Dead Sea.
Okay, somebody else was mentioning this in the sandbox, and yeah, it's kind of distracting. Aren't these supposed to be a little bit more flat to the head? Like, this just looks like one of those caps that they put on your head before they tell you to go sit in a corner. Like, it makes him look like a real knob. Just...
We went to Metula, where there's the only hockey rink, a Canadian-sponsored hockey rink. Incredible.
So that's that part of it, but like I said, I actually watched this whole thing. I don't even remember most of it because it was a lot of gibberish and stuff. But then I got to about where what he starts talking about around here.
Work to protect you. And I want you to know, I want you to look at the echo of the unmatched history of the eternal Jewish people. I was able to witness that history and that resilience when then Prime Minister Harper assigned me to represent him on the March of the Living. For those who've not been, it is a walk from the first concentration camp, Auschwitz, to the most prolific death camp, Birkenau. Survivors, their loved ones, and supporters lock arms on this long and painful march. I remember being shaken by the images that I saw there, the prosthetic limbs that had been ripped off incoming prisoners and gathered up in a storage room, the sheared hair, the jewelry, the instruments of torture. I remember when I witnessed all of this, how horrible it must have been for the little children who were marched into those horrendous gas chambers.
So at this point, he's been speaking for almost 20 minutes, and there's been no tone change in his voice. It's very Ben Shapiro-esque, like monotone and stuff like that. But yeah, he gets into something here that is just kind of, again, I don't understand how this man could be the leader of a federal party.
And what struck me most, though, was when we were taken to a brick building, and the guide said to us, "This is the building where they kept all the stolen plunder of the incoming prisoners, the jewelry. It was there to house all of the treasure. So they named it after a land of great treasure. They actually called it Canada. Because all of those prisoners and guards had seen those advertisements from the Canadian government those decades before, that there was a land of great treasure. So they named the building after that treasure. And the guards would, in a sick joke, taunt the prisoners who had to go and work in sorting in that building by saying, "You're going to Canada today."
Actually, that's quite an apt description. Canada, a land of stolen plunder and genocide. I don't think that's what he was going for. But, yeah. I don't think that's why the Nazis, like his speak of it, I don't think that's why the Nazis called it Canada. It could be more about the genocides this country committed and the stolen plunder they took.
After that treasure. And the guards had seen those advertisements from the Canadian government those decades before, that there was a land of great treasure. So they named the building
A land of stolen treasure.
after that treasure. And the guards would, in a sick joke, taunt the prisoners who had to go and work in sorting in that building by saying, "You're going to Canada today."
Kind of an apt description, but for all the wrong reasons that he's thinking. And that's, like, I didn't watch this one at full. But, like, he has another speech here, again, just totally pandering to the Zionist crowd. Live, ban Houthi terrorists, protect Canadians. Ban the terrorists. Like, it's just... And this one is like another half-hour long speech of him spewing this hateful rhetoric. Like, you know, promoting genocide is supposed to be hate speech in Canada. And yet that's exactly what he is doing. Like when he calls on Israel to, you know, give the world a gift. What is he asking? Like, we have no good choices electorally speaking right now, but one is worse than the other. A horrible piece of shit that guy is. It's horrible, horrible piece of shit that guy is.